Tonight on Ctv3 News, Chester Williams set to transition from Police Commissioner to Ministry of Transport CEO amid controversy. Investigation launched into officers' alleged involvement in drug plate incident. A local fisherman accused of shooting a cop is slapped with a number of charges, and there is a drop in major crimes, or at least that's what the Belize Police Department's records is showing. These are some of the stories we have for you tonight in our newscast for Wednesday, April 2nd, 2025.
Nota de duelo. Es con profunda tristeza que anunciamos el fallecimiento de nuestra querida madre, abuela, hermana, tía y amiga, la señora Confesora Pech, mejor conocida como Doña Connie. Nació el 15 de octubre de 1953 y falleció el 1 de abril del 2025. Fallecidos antes que ella, su esposo, Liborio Pech, su madre Dominga, su padre Félix Vega y su hija Marlene Pech. Le sobreviven sus hermanas Victoria Mencías y Ana Guardado, sus hermanos Menardo Díaz, Herculano y Javier Vega. También le sobreviven sus hijos Salvador, Fidencio, Angélica, Ilma, Carmelita y Elizabeth Pech, Rosa Castellanos, Azucena Watson, Glenda Takerow y Floridalma Ramos. 27 nietos, 5 bisnietos, yernos, nueras, varios sobrinos, sobrinas, familiares y amigos. El velorio se llevará a cabo el miércoles 2 de abril en su residencia en Agaspé. El servicio fúnebre se llevará a cabo el jueves 3 de abril del 2025 a las 11 de la mañana en la Iglesia Católica Sagrado Corazón de Dios. Que descanse en paz quien en vida fue la señora Confesora Pech, mejor conocida como Doña Connie.
Good evening. With your news also simulcast on Fiesta FM 106.7, I am Joanna Rodriguez. Friday, April 4th will mark Chester Williams' final day as Commissioner of Police. Starting Monday, April 7th, Williams will assume the role of Chief Executive Officer, CEO in the Ministry of Transport. Williams made the announcement during a media briefing today, where he also addressed the recent developments that expedited his departure from the police force. A pivotal factor in his transition appears to be a controversial letter issued by Sharol Rose Carr-Saldivar, CEO of the Ministry of Home Affairs and New Growth Industries. Williams described the letter as displeasing, hinting at internal tensions and disagreements that may have influenced his decision to move on sooner rather than later.
Conflict within the workplace. But when it comes to having conflict within the workplace, I don't like that at all. As much as I enjoyed and loved being a police officer, and believe you me, this has been my career. I worked 33 years to be where I am. And I was extremely unpleased with the letter. And like you rightly said, the CEO has no legal authority to have wrote the letter that she did. I had already explained to our minister, Karim, what I intend to do before leaving. We discussed and we agreed on certain things, and so I was surprised by the letter. Nonetheless, to be able to avoid any fighting, in-house fighting, I decided that, you know what, it's best I pack up and leave and move over to my new area of responsibility.
So your departure was, to some extent, because you don't want to have no conflict, hastened by that procedurally incorrect letter?
Certainly it had to do with, and I will be honest, it has a lot to do with that indeed. I don't want to have a fight with nobody. It is unnecessary. We already have the criminals out there that we need to fight. I don't think there's a need for us to fight among ourselves. So to avoid any issues with anybody, I said, you know what, it's best I move and get out of people's way.
Conflict aside, in his new role at the Ministry of Transport, Williams aims to bring the same dedication and innovation that characterized his time as police commissioner.
I'm grateful to the Prime Minister for the opportunity being given to me to move over to that ministry, and I assure him that I will do my utmost best in making sure that we improve road safety in particular in this country. Like Minister rightly alluded in his interview that last year was a very deadly year on our highways, and we cannot have another year of that. There's going to be a greater need for the police and DOT to work more closely together. And just this morning I said to the Minister that I would like to establish a police liaison within the Ministry of Transport, not within the Department of Traffic, again with a view to ensure that we remain on the same page when it comes to road safety. There's a lot that we need to do in terms of improving the laws to be able to hold drunk drivers, reckless drivers more accountable for their actions. So I have some plans that I have been working on even while being Commissioner of Police. I will now be able to move over and get those plans going and see how best we can bring them into fruition to be able to enhance road safety in this country.
And while Williams is expressing optimism about the new position, there is no doubt that he will need to hit the ground running as the Ministry of Transport is facing a number of challenges.
I already discussed to some extent with the CTO. I've told him what are some of my plans in terms of looking at traffic. There needs to be not only daytime traffic wardens on the highway. We need to have traffic wardens on the highway at least until 12 midnight in the first instance, and then we can look at maybe taking it on a 24 hours basis. Again, road safety is important, and if it is that we want to improve road safety, we must do more. So it is something that we are already in discussion with to make sure that we can have a more robust transport department that is going to suit the needs of the Belizean people who are using the highways.
But while some may view the letter as curt, Minister of Home Affairs Kareem Musa says it all forms part of the transition period.
During this transition period, while it is that we would hope for a seamless, smooth transition, there are certain actions and certain decisions that can be made that can affect the department moving forward. And so it was just a reminder in terms of the transition. You know, it has cost implications for transfers, it has cost implications for promotions. Let us try to make the transition as smooth as possible because not necessarily the new Commissioner of Police would agree to these transfers. And so we have to make sure that we preserve the status quo as best as possible. And so that's how I see the letter, just saying let us preserve the status quo as we transition.
As the clock ticks down to his last day in the police force, Chester Williams' departure marks the end of 3 decades in Belizean law enforcement, while simultaneously signaling the potential for new beginnings in the realm of transport management. Today, Honorable Kareem Musa spoke about the indelible impact that Williams is poised to impart upon the department, emphasizing that the significance of his contributions is self-evident and resoundingly tangible.
His record speaks for itself. I think you can look at his entire tenure in office. It has been an accomplished record. He has done so much, not just in terms of reducing crime, but for the welfare of the police officers in our department. And so it's a difficult thing because I know the commissioner still has a lot of life left in him. He's only 51 years old. But the Prime Minister and myself discussed the future because we certainly would never want to lose our commissioner and his capabilities, his capacity. As you know, last year we had the most traffic fatalities probably in the history of the country. Commissioner can back me up on that. And we can see where even while he was commissioner, sharing with us at the cabinet level a lot of strategies that can be put in place to make our highways a lot safer. And so we thought it fitting, myself and the Prime Minister, of course, to elevate our Commissioner of Police to the position of the Chief Executive Officer in that ministry, as well as the Constitutional Affairs and Indigenous Affairs.
Authorities have taken 2 officers from the Anti-Narcotics and Special Patrols Unit into custody and subsequently released them amid ongoing inquiries into a recent drug plane landing in the vicinity of Graham Creek. Reports indicate that these officers' names appeared on a list identifying individuals who allegedly received $50,000 for their role in facilitating the aircraft's arrival. When asked about the report circulating, Police Commissioner Chester Williams affirmed that the officers brought in for questioning and treated as any other citizen would be.
Were brought in, just as we would have done it any ordinary person. They went through the mills. We put together an investigative team of senior investigators to investigate that matter, to see if there was anything credible to the information. And so far, we have not been able to unearth anything to indicate that those officers were involved in that plane landing. Of course, yes, the investigation remains active. They have also agreed for the devices to be searched. That is going to be done by the DA agents. And again, the fact that they agreed to that shows how transparent they want to be with the investigation in terms of cooperating. I'm not going to put the cart ahead of the horse at this time. I believe that we can be judged in terms of what we did. Once we received information, they were brought in, they were interviewed, and they remain in custody for 48 hours like we would have done it any ordinary person. So there was no special treatment given to them. But at the end of the day, we have to be fair to people. If there's nothing to indicate anything further of their involvement, then they had to be released from custody while the investigation continues.
So you recently dismissed a police officer whose name was on a quote-unquote cartel note. These people, their names are on a paper, or on a, I should say, on a satellite phone related to this entire narco activity in Graham.
Their names were not on no satellite phone, and you cannot compare this with the previous case. It's like comparing night and day. You know, I'm sure, the circumstances involving that particular officer. It is not just today that we have been hearing about him. It has been for a very, very long time. There have been numerous information obtained as it relates to his involvement in these illicit activities, and so it's not the same.
Authorities have also detained a local council member and a Guatemalan national following the discovery of communication equipment at their residence, indicating a broader investigation into the incident and potential connections to the drug trade.
We had received a number of information, and based on that, again, the police, the investigative team again, had moved into that area, and they had detained 2 individuals from there. What we were getting was that they were involved in some respect or some aspect of the plane landing. They were brought in, they were interviewed. I think there was information on one cell phone showing the tree that was cut to the entrance of where the plane had landed, which would suggest that he knew of it. Again, our interviews in respect of that matter is ongoing. The investigators are still out trying to collect as much as they can to see if we will be able to gather a little bit more so that we'll be able to charge these people if the evidence should surface.
The illicit aircraft, which made an unexpected landing close to the Guatemalan border, was set ablaze after its use. Authorities have also detained a local council member following the discovery of communication equipment at their residence, indicating a broader investigation into the incident and potential connections to the drug trade. A dramatic series of events that folded on Sunday night have led cops to arrest 36-year-old Stanley Flowers, a local fisherman, after he allegedly opened fire on law enforcement officers near a popular nightclub in the Old Capital. The incident began outside the Fire nightclub on the Philip Golson Highway, where officers were responding to reports of an armed individual. Flowers, as we have reported, was approached by Corporal Manuel Chubb and his team when he suddenly brandished a firearm, discharging multiple shots at the police vehicle. In the chaos, Corporal Job was struck 4 times but was fortunate to receive prompt medical attention and has since been treated and released from the hospital. After firing at the officers, Flowers attempted to flee the scene on a motorcycle. This led to a high-speed chase as he continued to target police vehicles with gunfire, causing substantial damage. However, police coordination proved effective and they managed to disable Flowers' bike, bringing the pursuit to a halt. Upon apprehension, officers recovered a 9mm pistol from Flowers, who now faces serious charges. The fisherman was formally charged with attempted murder along with 3 counts of aggravated assault, 2 counts of damage to property, 1 count of dangerous harm, and 1 count of the use of deadly means of harm. He remains in custody as the investigation continues. Last week, Commissioner of Police Chester Williams announced the dismissal of a police corporal whose name surfaced in connection with the murder of 29-year-old Raheem Usher. The shocking discovery of Usher's body in San Antonio Village, coupled with the disturbing details surrounding his demise, has put a spotlight on potential corruption within the Belize Police Department. In an official letter addressed to the corporal, Commissioner Williams stated, "In light of the serious nature of the allegations against you, the impact on the reputation of the Belize Police Department, and after careful consideration of the submission by your attorney, I hereby exercise my power and discharge you from the Belize Police Department effective March 28, 2025. The letter granted the officer a right to appeal the decision to the Belize Advisory Council within 21 days of receipt. Today, Williams spoke about the rationale behind the decision.
There have been many allegations in respect of that individual. And the thing is that even the people who works with him were not comfortable working with him because of the allegations that they were hearing. They were fearful that they would be at work with him and then people would come and target him and then they become victims of that. So it was not an easy decision to be made, but it was one I believe that was necessary.
The corporal, who has dedicated 21 years to the police force, found himself at the center of a police investigation after Usher's body was discovered in late February. Usher, a resident of Libertad Village, had been reported missing for over a month before his body was found handcuffed, wrapped in a sheet, and concealed under plastic. Notably, the sheet included a handwritten threat targeting individuals allegedly involved in drug trafficking, listing 6 names, including that of the dismissed officer. Coming up next, Caribbean Development Bank reviews key infrastructure projects focused on economic resilience in Belize. Stay tuned.
Nota de duelo. Es con profunda tristeza que anunciamos el fallecimiento de nuestra querida madre, abuela, hermana, tía y amiga, la señora Confesora Pech, mejor conocida como Doña Connie. Nació el 15 de octubre de 1953 y falleció el 1 de abril del 2025. Fallecidos antes que ella, su esposo, Liborio Pech, su madre Dominga, su padre Félix Vega y su hija Marlene Pech. Le sobreviven sus hermanas Victoria Mencías y Ana Guardado, sus hermanos Menardo Díaz, Herculano y Javier Vega. También le sobreviven sus hijos Salvador, Fidencio, Angélica, Ilma, Carmelita y Elizabeth Pech, Rosa Castellanos, Azucena Watson, Glenda Takerow y Floridalma Ramos. 27 nietos, 5 bisnietos, yernos, nueras, varios sobrinos, sobrinas, familiares y amigos. El velorio se llevará a cabo el miércoles 2 de abril en su residencia en Agaspine Ridge. El servicio fúnebre se llevará a cabo el jueves 3 de abril del 2025 a las 11 de la mañana en la Iglesia Católica Sagrado Corazón de Dios. Que descanse en paz quien en vida fue la señora Confesora Pech, mejor conocida como Doña Connie.
Pro FC 16. Get ready for an electrifying night of combat sports as Pro FC takes over the Princess Vegas Hotel and Casino in Corazon on Saturday, May 17th, 2025. Witness 14 adrenaline-fueled fights featuring the fiercest competitors from Belize, Mexico, Canada, and Guatemala, all battling for glory and supremacy in the ring. Pro FC 16. Don't just watch the action, be part of it. Pro FC 16, exclusive on the Express Plus app.
As mentioned at the top of the newscast, Chester Williams will officially step down as Commissioner of Police this Friday, marking the end of a 6-year tenure characterized by both challenges and achievements. Williams will transition to the role of Chief Executive Officer at the Ministry of Transport. As he prepares to take on his new responsibilities, Williams has announced a series of personnel transfers within the Belize Police Department. Notably, these changes include the relocation of a special assistant. In a statement, Williams emphasized that these transitions had been discussed and approved by the minister before being finalized, ensuring a smooth continuation of departmental operations.
But again, like I said to you, whatever I did, I had explained to the minister before I did them, and I will leave it at that.
Today at the Belize Training Academy in Belmopan, the police department held the first quarter computer performance statistics ComStat review for 2025. Police commanders from the various regions, divisions, and formations gathered to discuss the country's crime statistics. The biannual meeting also gives the department a chance to assess whether its crime-fighting strategies have been effective. In today's ComStat meeting, the Belize Police Department reported a drop in major crimes as compared to 2024. Presenting his last crime statistics report as Commissioner of Police, Chester Williams today said he is pleased with the level of crime reduction he is now handing over to the incoming Compol.
Our ComStat for this morning, looking at the first quarter of 2025, I must say it looks good. It's not what I would want it to be, certainly. You would know that I am very big in terms of preserving life. Those type of crimes that affects life, like murders and attempted murders and so forth, are the ones that I would normally do my best to guard against. And again, for the simple fact that they do affect the livelihoods of others. Nonetheless, the murders are down compared to last year. We are 4 below last year's figure. And overall major crime is down by 7% compared to the same period last year. So I am happy that I am handing over to the incoming commissioner with a crime rate below last year's figure. And that for me is good. So moving forward, I just hope that the police department is going to be able to continue to function the way we have functioned over the past 6+ years. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and the public depend heavily on the effectiveness of the police. And so making sure that the police remain effective is important. And that's the reason why this morning in the ComStat I made mention to the commanders that this is going to be my last ComStat with them. And I encourage them to throw their support behind the incoming commissioner, because at the end of the day, they cannot be divided. Unity is strength, and if they remain united, they will be able to overcome whatever challenge or challenges that may come their way. The Bible says that a house that is divided against itself will never stand. And so I encourage them to make sure that they do not be divided, but rather that they unify for the greater good of this country.
Also present at today's meeting was Kareem Musa, Minister of Home Affairs. He stated his satisfaction with the police's performance in the first quarter of 2025, but pointed to the need for further reduction in major crimes as the year progresses.
While it is that we can see a decrease in major crimes for the first quarter as compared to the first quarter of 2024, is that we cannot get disillusioned by the good numbers. We cannot get complacent by the good numbers, but rather we have to step up our efforts, because last year I can recall the first quarter being a very difficult and challenging year for the police, as was this year. And so in similar fashion as we did last year, we will have to increase our efforts and certainly try to make better in the second quarter.
But we know
with an increase of gang-related crimes on the rise during this first quarter of the year, Minister Karim Musa indicated that the department is considering its options, including the possibility of implementing another state of emergency.
I can say here now that it still is on the table. We were monitoring it closer to the election, where it was extremely heightened. And I think we came fairly close, Commissioner, to declaring a state of emergency. But it was never done. It was quelled for a bit, but again, now we see other areas are sparking. I know at the time of the election, we were specifically looking at 6 different gangs in Belize City that were going to be a part of the SOE. We're still monitoring those 6 gangs, and then there are a couple others now as well. And so that is still on the table. I'm not saying that we're going to declare one this week or next, but it certainly is on the table. We're in discussions, not just with the Commissioner and the Police Department, but also with the Leadership Intervention Unit to get their feedback, because it is that we would want to have a targeted SOE as opposed to a blanket net cast over everybody.
It is of note that the police department today also presented a 12-year review of major crimes in the country from 2013 to 2024. Looking specifically at murders over the past 13 years, it is noted that 2023 and 2024 were among the years with the lowest murder rates, with 87 and 89 respectively. The highest murder rate was recorded in 2018, when there was a total of 143 murders in the country. The Ministry of Economic Transformation took part in a 2-day portfolio review with the Caribbean Development Bank focused on economic and social resilience, with key contributions from the Development Finance Corporation, DFC, Belize Social Investment Fund, BSIF, Ministry of Education, and Resilient Rural Belize, RRB. A major focus of the portfolio review is based on key infrastructure projects, including the Coastal Highway Project, Philip Golson Highway, and the George Price Highway Project.
This country portfolio review is held almost every year. However, during project implementation, we would usually have regular visits from the Caribbean Development Bank, because they have a team that usually checks up on the progress of the works as it progresses. So that is done maybe 2 to 3 times per year, but the portfolio review is done on an annual basis. No, it is the same team, and so this is the high-level team that has come from the bank. And honestly, we're very pleased and proud as a country to know that they have recognized us as, I believe, the best in the Caribbean, to be honest, in terms of project implementation, using funds and resources from the Caribbean Development Bank. As you may be aware, the 2 projects that we discussed with them yesterday was the 6th Road Coastal Highway Upgrading Project, and also the 7th Road, the Philip Golson Highway Upgrading Project. And both those projects have been successfully completed by the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing. And so based on the visits that they have made over the last 3 years, we have been successful in the completion of these projects. And so we're very pleased to have received those remarks from the bank as well.
Speaking directly on the Coastal Road project, which received some backlash recently for weather damages it received, Chief Engineer in the Ministry of Infrastructure Development, Evandale Moody, says the CDB high-level panel was pleased with the project's outcome.
In discussion with them, as I said, I believe they have indicated that the project was successful and they were very pleased with the outcome of the project. The type of surface dressing that we utilized on that project was the chip and seal. However, that was the way it was designed at the time when the project was presented to the bank, and so we had to follow through with that type of pavement. Of course, we have the hot mix that we're now using, and you also have concrete. We have concreted a few sections along the coastal highway, which are basically the floodways that we have discussed on numerous occasions. But the surface dressing that we have placed is holding up, it's doing well. And where we had deficiencies was where we had some flooding as a result of land clearing and so forth. And so those areas we have rehabilitated and converted those sections to concrete. And we're also looking at some other sections that we want to concrete as well, so that we could allow water to pass over it in the event we have excessive flooding.
A significant part of the review's agenda, according to Moody, was dedicated to climate financing, where CDB experts presented funding opportunities and strategies to enhance Belize's resilience to climate change.
Yes, that is the basic idea, and you must bear in mind that climate resilience, it changes as time progresses as well. So we could be designing for, say, a 1 in 50 or a 1 in 100 year flood event, and just thereafter, after completing the works, we get an event that is maybe a 1 in 500 year event that we did not expect would occur. You have to bear in mind that we could only design for a certain return period, and we have to take that into consideration, because if we design in excess of that return period, then the project will be too costly and we could not afford it. So from what we've done on the coastal highway, the bank is pleased with the return periods that we have selected. The highway has basically held up quite well since its completion. Yes, we had minor areas that were flooded, but that was because of alternative events that occurred. And so what we have done with that project, we have definitely reduced travel time for motorists. We have improved the economic viability of the highway and also of the surrounding areas. We have improved road safety, and those are the things that the bank is also looking at in terms of a successful completion of a project.
And there is more news after the break. Stay tuned.
Coming soon, Pro FC 16. Get ready for an electrifying night of combat sports as Pro FC takes over the Princess Vegas Hotel and Casino in Corozal on Saturday, May 17th, 2025. Witness 14 adrenaline-fueled fights featuring the fiercest competitors from Belize, Mexico, Canada, and Guatemala, all battling for glory and supremacy in the ring. Pro FC 16. Don't just watch the action, be part of it. Pro FC 16, exclusive on the Express Plus app.
Escape to paradise. Centaur is giving you the chance to win an unforgettable getaway at the breathtaking Orchid Bay Resort. Picture this: a stunning beach and a relaxing poolside retreat. One lucky winner will enjoy an overnight stay for two, plus a delicious breakfast, all courtesy of Orchid Bay Resort. How to enter? Sign up for any Centaur service or stay up to date with your payments for a chance to win. Live raffle draw on April 16th on Despierta Belize show. Enter now to win with Centaur.
Over the weekend, the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing issued a stern warning to residents following a video showing several men digging into the shoulder of the newly constructed Champine Ridge Road. In a post via their official social media page, the ministry wrote, "This is what we're now dealing with. This crew is helping themselves to the shoulder of the road without a care in the world. This will undermine the integrity of the newly built road and create serious problems for the community. Please stop. This makes no sense. Please stop." End of quote. The Champine Ridge Road was recently upgraded as a part of a broader infrastructure development initiative in northern Belize. According to engineering experts, tampering with road shoulders can lead to erosion, weakened road edges, poor drainage, and higher maintenance costs, posing a hazard to both motorists and nearby residents. Speaking on this incident today, Chief Engineer in the Ministry of Infrastructure, Evandale Moody, shared that this is not the first time that such an incident is reported to the ministry.
It's very common for that to occur. They usually remove signs. If we leave culverts, they would move the culverts. They take down the signs, the traffic signs, they remove those, we get them vandalized. It's very disheartening, honestly, because while we at the MIDH were trying to do our best to improve our road network, improve safety for motorists, we still have that problem with our own citizens vandalizing our infrastructure and also removing the materials from the road shoulders. When they remove the materials from the road shoulders, that makes it easier whenever we go into the rainy season for us to have erosions. And then that would result in scores. And then when we have road failures, then they would say we are fixing the road again. And it's a lot of different factors that affect it, and that is one. And so it was necessary for us to put it out there so that the public could be aware, but it continues to happen. What continues to bother us is also the littering. That is something that we've tried our best, honestly, to keep our highways clean. I know that you have noticed that we have workmen every single day picking up garbage, and we go back the next week and it's the same volume of garbage. So we know that we have our citizens that are disposing of garbage on the highway. They dump refrigerators, air conditions, all kind of things. And so we have to keep cleaning it, but I would just like to get the message out there that we're trying our best to keep our highways clean. I mean, it's not just for us, it's for our visitors as well. And we are a huge destination for tourism. So if we could get that message out that littering is not helping us, it's bringing us back way. If we could put that out, I think that would be very helpful to the entire country.
And speaking to the media today, Chief Engineer in the Ministry of Infrastructure Development and Housing, Evandale Moody, also gave an update on the ongoing works at the National Assembly on Independence Hill in the city of Belmopan. The project will begin in late 2024, will see the complete upgrade of the building's exterior and interior facilities. The project, according to Moody, is currently exactly on track and expected to be fully completed by September of this year.
All right, the National Assembly is progressing quite well. I had a visit there just last week. We're currently doing the interior walls for the National Assembly. The contractor is also working on the exterior walls. We are also working on the elevator shaft. We have basically gutted out the entire inside of the National Assembly building where the house meetings are usually held. So there's basically nothing in there. It's basically open. And so we're trying to bring back now in everything, starting with the ceiling, the installation of electricals, new air conditions. So it's getting a full rehabilitation. We expect that those works will be completed by September, October. That is still our deadline. We believe that we're on target still for that timeline, unless we have some delays in the delivery of materials. But from my visit last week, we're still on schedule for completion.
House meetings are currently being held at the George Price Center, which has been retrofitted to act as a National Assembly until works are completed. And that's the news. We invite you to join us for another newscast on Thursday, April 3rd, here on Ctv3 News and Fiesta FM 106.7. Remember that to read a text version of the news, you can visit our website at ctv3believenews.com. You can also log on to our Facebook page for current stories at facebook.com/ctv3believenews or our YouTube channel at Ctv3 News TV. From all of us here at Ctv3 News, thank you for watching and listening. Good night.